who I've not had a chance to meet, but I'll try to moderate this session through here a little bit. I see we've got Chuck Kinnebrew and Horace King and Larry West on the Zoom, and an assortment of media. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to call on, I don't know, 3 or 4 of the media for specific questions for specific ones, and then we'll kind of open it up to all comers and they can fire away with whatever questions to whomever. So why don't we start out and get this thing going and go
Claude,
to—
before we begin, is it possible that we might be able to know who it is that's asking questions and who they represent?
Yeah, and when I call on them, I'll tell you who they are.
That'll be very good. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's start out with Chip Towers from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
I think Chip had sent you a chat that said he couldn't hear.
Yeah, Chip, Claude was having issues with audio and he ducked out, but has joined us back, but may go somebody else, and hopefully his audio will come back here in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go over to Stuart Steele with the red and black. I'm sure all you guys remember the red and black.
Yeah,
I do.
Hey guys, great to talk to you. I just wanted to ask how you're feeling ahead of being honored this Saturday, like with the South Carolina game.
Is this for all 3?
Yeah, all 3.
Okay.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited and almost about like a football being ready for this little 5 celebration that we're getting ready to have. So that's my take on it.
you know, it's definitely a big thing as far as I'm concerned. And my wife and I were at the game this past Saturday, and when the team was running out on the field, she said, "Do you wish you were out there?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm kind of enjoying. I'm enjoying it sitting here in the stands." But I applaud the university, especially the athletic department, for thinking in terms of lifting up something that is historical and something that has made a significant impact as far as UGA athletics is concerned.
It's hard not to be excited, not only about this, but about the potential of what it represents. And I too want to applaud the university for its acknowledgement and its willingness to recognize the 5 of us. Great foundation, I believe, had already been set with the 5 of us coming. And I think it epitomizes what guys now can really look to. Because not only did one of us succeed in going to the higher echelons of football and playing in the National Football League for 9 years, as Horace did, but I believe the rest of us have had some measure of success in life after football. And I'm grateful again for the university, their willingness to recognize it.
Thank you, Larry. Let's go over to Zach Klein at WSB TV Atlanta.
Hey, gentlemen, Claude, good seeing you and appreciate your time in doing this. When you look back at it today, when did you sense you were making an impact? Was it immediately when you looked around and see somebody that looked like you, talked like you from the neighborhood, or was it years later that you felt the impact that you were making back in '71?
Is that for all 3?
Yes, please.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Horace, I'll let you take it.
That's a hard question to answer for me. It was impactful for me the minute that I signed that grant and aid to actually go to school over there, show up over on campus and live in the athletic dorm. Over the years, it has seemed to have grown in importance to me that I had that wonderful experience to actually go to college in my hometown. You know, I was the first class of Clark Central High School, and the time there was just so impactful with the people that I met, the players that I played ball with, the coaches that I had, even the administrators that, when I had a challenge and I went before administrators to talk to them about how to proceed or to do better here in that class, I approached them and I got assistance, aid, and help. So in every aspect of my life, it impacted it. Just that whole Athens, Georgia community. I'm proud to be a product of it and to at least represent it as being one of the 5 that actually showed up there on campus. And I used to like the words that Chuck and Larry used to say, that they came to graduate and to play. So did I.
Larry or Chuck, anything to add?
I think for me, the impact was, the potential of the impact was always there. I grew up in a home in Albany, Georgia, whose people in that house were very involved in the civil rights movement. And that in and of itself had an impact on me. And of course, I believe because of that, and because of the timing of it all, the 3 of us here and the other 2, Pope and Appleby, were probably the right people at the right time to come and do the things that we did at the University of Georgia, knowing that it was going to be impactful because we were the first.
Yeah, I agree with both Larry and Horace. The thing that's unique and interesting is that if you let me shut this down. If you look at the numbers in itself says that a tremendous amount of progress has been made over the 50-year period of time. So when you look at us and you say we were the first 5, and if you look at the football team today, you'll see where I would imagine at least 95% of the team, is African American. But beyond that, if you look at the administration and if you look at the coaches, you'll see that there's been a significant change as far as the representation is concerned. So I recognize how impactful it is, and I applaud Josh and the rest of the athletic department for doing the right thing as far as making sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a part of the overall strategy as far as the athletic department is concerned. And I think when you look back there, you can see what the impact is. And so when I look at the coaches, we didn't have any Black coaches. We wanted them. But when you look down on the field today, you see something that's totally and completely different. And I now understand the impact of what we did 50 plus years ago.
And let's go back to Chip Towers. Are you hear us now? Chip, you on? All right, let's go over to Paul Newberry from Associated Press.
Hey,
Paul,
Claude, I'm here.
All right, let's go to Chip and then we'll go to Paul. Chip, go ahead if you have a question for either of the 3.
Yeah, sorry about that. I have a bunch of questions, and I don't know what I missed because I'm on a different device now. But I guess for all 3 guys, can you believe that it's been 50 years, or is it hard to believe it's been 50 years? But then again, can you believe it's been 50 years? Does that make sense? Like, it's not that long ago when you think about 1971 for integration. But yet, that certainly was a long time ago, and so much has changed now.
Chuck, you want to take that first?
Yeah, when I think about it, it causes me to be very thankful. 50 years is a long time, and a lot has occurred over that period of time. And so I'm glad to see that the university is moving in the direction that it's moving in across the board. And I think that what has happened over that 50-year period of time will lend itself in a positive manner as we go forward. But it doesn't seem like it's been 50 years though. I mean, I'm 68 years old, and you know, thank God I'm still here, to be frankly honest.
Thank God all of us are still here. And, amen. We praise God for the 50 years, but no, I'm surprised it has been 50 years. It certainly sounds like a long time, but it seems like it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
In some cases. And again, just grateful for the opportunity to see it as well as to feel it.
Yeah.
Because as we said earlier, it's very difficult not to be excited about this. The other thing I would mention to you is that in this 50-year period of time, I'm grateful that we've been able to show that we were more than just football players. We were human beings who set goals and objectives and had ambitions, and of course led lives that we hope made some, if not all, at the university joyful, gleeful, excited about our accomplishments. Again, I believe we were the right five at the right time to do the things that have been done and to make tremendous contributions to the society in which we live.
Yeah.
And thank God that the university had a role to play in that.
Well, for me, it's been both short and long. I've been trying to wrap my hands around how I really feel about all this after this time has passed. Just this morning, I was thinking about what a Tuesday during the off season actually would have been like for me there on campus. And I kind of walked my mind through, you know, I always had a first period class because I'm an early riser. And usually I try to spend some time over in that gym that Coach Casey, weight room that Coach Casey and whoever put it together put up for us. Tried to spend some time down in it.
Mervo's.
Yeah, I'm talking about the one that was in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so going back and just thinking through those moments in that time and how I lived each day over on that campus, though I grew up in Athens, it was like I had moved to another town a little bit further away because of how big that university was and how busy I was with trying to be the best student athlete that I could be and the time commitment to doing that. So it's a short period of time and it's a long period of time. I'm thankful that I had that great opportunity, especially after being a local fellow that grew up right there in Athens and come from Bernie Harris to go to Clark Central and to end up on that big stage out in Sanford Stadium. Shoot, I'm getting cold chills just thinking about it now. So it has been just a joy to have been a part of that institution and the people. I always think about Squab Jones.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a Gatorade today, and we used to call it squab juice.
That's right. That's right.
And the other people that in the community that was big supporters and thought a lot that that opportunity was afforded to, especially Richard and Clarence and myself, because we were actually local. You know what, Clark Central is, I don't know, 2 or 3 blocks or maybe a block up the street from the Sanford Stadium. So to stay home and actually play ball, which my mother decided that was going to happen that way. So I enjoyed it, every minute of it.
Let's go.
Guys, did you hear what Horace said when he said, I just tried to be the best student athlete that I could be. Notice athlete, the word athlete was not first. The word student was first. That's what I was talking about these 5. We realized it was more than just football.
You know, I think the other thing is that the 3 of us, you know, were fortunate enough to go and graduate, which to me was very critical, because that was priority. But I think about the recruiting process, and Horace or Larry, one of you said that you thought that we were the right ones at the right time, with the right background and everything, and I think that made a significant difference. The key is that none of us ever got in trouble. We had
That's right.
we had a parental support system that mandated that we be good citizens, that we be good students, and we be good athletes. And the last thing I wanted was my mom or my dad not calling me, but coming down to the university to take care of business if I wasn't managing my life the way that they expected me to manage, and also do a good job of representing what our family is all about. So,
And not to mention the fact that Horace's mom was our mom. Chuck's dad and mom was our dad and mom. So we had a lot of moms and dads to be responsible to and responsible for.
And we also had a responsibility to each other. We had an internal process that forced us to look internally to make sure that we were managing our lives in a manner where our families would be proud, and also the university. So that's something that a lot of people don't know about, but it's something that we are extremely proud of, because we had processes in place to make sure that, we were managing our lives to, be good role models, so that university could go out and recruit other Black or African-American athletes.
Paul Newberry, let's go to Paul Newberry, Associated Press. Paul, do you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Claude. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Couple things for all three. How important is it to remember the contributions that guys like you made and people made at universities all over the South? And we've seen a lot of they call it a reawakening, a sense of, with Black Lives Matter in the last year and a half. But it seems a greater appreciation of what like the HBCUs did and what guys like you did at major universities. Can you speak to how important it is to remember those people who laid the path? And also, too, you talk about the progress, but can all three of you speak to, do you wish more had been done? Or what do you, there's still not a lot of Black head coaches in major college football. I'm just curious, how you think the progress has been over the last 50 years, what you would like to see happen going forward. Thank you, guys.
Horace, would you like to jump on that first?
The head coaching part and the administrative staff, I think, is kind of taking some progressive or forward steps to bring more minorities being involved. If you look out around in both major college sports and even the NFL, there are not a lot of Black head coaches, though I think there are a lot of people out there ready to step up to those positions and those jobs. So just like we here having a celebration of 50 years since we showed up on the campus of the University of Georgia, one day gonna have to do that, and it may not be recognized so much other than individually, that coaches will be general managers, they will become head coaches, and there will be more of them. I mean, in the National Football League, probably 75% of the players are minorities. And but most of the management staff are not. And in some ways, there have been some progress being made. I think they called one of them, Art Rooney came up with a rule about how many Black possible head coaches candidates should be interviewed before they made a hire. Some teams held to that, and it has kind of fell to the wayside, as I understand from a lot of the players that I talk to and speak to around. But progress is being made. It is slow. I guess nothing is ever fast enough. I mean, I would have liked to have been probably 68 when I came here, but I showed up at 1 or 2 years old, so I had to grow to this. So that process is a continuum. It's something that needs to be done, and it'll eventually, I think, start happening. Will everybody get celebrated for doing it? I don't know. I'm happy to be a part of this. I'm happy to be a Bulldog, and that I went to a place that respected me, showed respect from every aspect of my involvement over the university, and especially that group that used to feed me every day in McCorder Hall. If you stepped on the wrong toe back there, you can worry about your breakfast might not be the same all the time with Miss Page and Mr. Cobb and them back there in the back. So they expected responsibility. Chuck and Larry said something about parenting. My parting words every day from the time I started school was my mother used to tell me, do not leave here and go and embarrass me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, some progress need to be made in the administrative staffs and on the coaching staff. And I assume that'll eventually start taking bigger strides as more and more people, more and more coaches step up and get involved in the coaching. I don't know how many people they have tried to hire there. Some probably told them that, hey, I don't like the situation and I don't want to be hired to come there. I can't stand that. I can't think that that would be many that would turn it down, but I can believe somebody possibly did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, I think that contributions, particularly positive contributions, are always of critical importance. And in the society in which we live, I believe it certainly is more than helpful to point those contributing factors out. Their negative news always seems to make the headlines and always seems to be the focal point. When quite frankly, there are many, many, many positive things that are being done. There are many positive contributions that are being made that really needs to be highlighted so that it will be encouraging for others to come who are coming along this pathway. So I think that contributions are of critical importance and need to have its time certainly in the light.
Yeah, when I look back, in my opinion, you got to look at the numbers, and the numbers basically says that we have made a tremendous amount of progress moving forward. But I think that there's still opportunity for the university, for the athletic department to continue along the lines of making sure that there is a diverse organization and that those individuals who are diverse and are participating have an equal opportunity to be the very best that they can be. The key here, in my opinion, guys, is making sure that people feel included. If you think about it right now, Kirby has probably 95% of his team is African American. And if these kids don't feel connected to the university, if they don't feel included, if they don't feel that the environment is right, then we won't be able to keep the kids here. And if we can't keep the kids here, then we can't be successful. And keep in mind, when I think about the impact that the five of us have had, you look at the athletic department today, and the football program basically is funding all of the other athletic programs. And so if that team is 95% African American, then it says that we have to really be doing something special to make sure that those young men feel a part of, and that when they leave here, there's connectivity to the university so that they start to give back. And so there are some areas that, I think we have to look at to make sure that we can start to make positive change so that the athletes that leave still feel connected and want to come back and give back to the university.
Let me go over Paige Dower. Are you on the line? Paige? Okay, let's go over to Jeff Centel.
Don't see him, Claude.
You'll come back. Jeff Centel?
Hey guys, thanks
Jeff.
to everybody for doing this. And this is a question for everyone. I guess I just want to know how hard integration was. Like, I've read the oral histories, and Coach Dooley basically moved the dial and made the decision to do this on his own. Can you tell me an example of where maybe there was some trepidation about whether or not it was going to work, and then maybe when you gentlemen knew that it was going to work?
Listen, I never considered the fact that it wouldn't work.
I think that statement is true for all of us.
I never looked at it from that standpoint. The other thing you guys have to realize is that this was not my first rodeo from an integration standpoint. I grew up in Rome, Georgia, and we were clearly involved in integrating just about every aspect of life that you can imagine. So by the time I got to the University of Georgia, and I clearly understood why I was there, to get an education and to play football, failure was not an option. And we never talked about it not working. We talked about what it would take for us to improve it so that we could pave the way for other guys to come. Never looked at it from that standpoint, to be frankly honest, Jeff.
It was a positive thought process. And I think that's perhaps why we came together as a group and established some performance rules for ourselves within our group. We didn't want to let each other down. And it was not a part of our vocabulary. It was not a part of our definition. I don't believe any of us thought about if it would not work. We were going to make certain that it did work.
Somebody asked me a question one day. They said, did I ever think about quitting? I hadn't stepped foot on the football field yet. I'm in an athletic dorm room with air conditioning and a room to study, heat and lighting. And I get up every day and I go upstairs and I got breakfast. What is that to quit to go do? It's a thought that crossed my mind. I had a father at home and pretty much was told when I turned 18, I was going to be moving. He didn't know where, but it wasn't going to be staying there with him. So to get us college scholarship, step foot over on that campus of the University of Georgia, that was what I was looking forward to and for. So quitting it wasn't an option. That never crossed my mind.
Paige Dower, I see you now.
Yes, sorry, I'm not sure what was going on earlier.
Let me say first of all, Paige, where's Larry? Larry, this is Paige Dower from WALB TV Albany, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Yeah.
Blessings upon you.
Awesome. Yes, I wanted to specifically also ask you questions. Back when you had your scholarship, you're there breaking the color barrier. I mean, you're 17, 18 years old. I mean, at that time, did you realize the significance of what was happening when you were a part of the first five?
Oh yeah, we definitely realized the significance of what was going down. But like Chuck, this was not necessarily our first involvement. I was the first African-American to enter into middle school in Albany, Georgia. One of the first, of course, on the football team at Albany High School. So going to the University of Georgia, being the first, it was just a continuation.
Yeah.
And in my childhood, growing up in a home that was filled with civil rights participants, activators and leaders, it was a natural progression for me. And quite frankly, I never really thought about integrating. I thought about going up and being that student athlete that Horace talked about, putting forth the best foot that we possibly could to show that we're not just athletes. We're human beings, again, that had set goals and had ambitions and wanted to show forth that there was more to these persons than just football players.
And then for you too, being from Albany, I think it's still a narrative down here that we kind of get overseen in Albany. For you, what did that opportunity mean to be seen in Albany, get this opportunity and be part of such an impactful group going to Georgia?
Albany, the people in Albany, supporters in Albany had a real impact on me and even my decision to attend the University of Georgia. There were many, many other scholarship offers that I had to entertain. But the one thought that some friends of mine, their parents, said to me, and perhaps said it in jest, they said, "Man, you've got an opportunity to get a scholarship to go to the University of Georgia? Man, I would take that." And that statement had an impact on me. It had an impact because those friends were a part of the Caucasian persuasion, but yet they had an interest. And no one had put them up or pushed them into having an interest in Larry West, but they had a personal interest. And it showed through the years, through my 3 years of being in high school with their children. They supported all 3 years. So it was very much a part of my decision-making in going to the University of Georgia.
And I guess lastly too, it's the 50-year anniversary. You had quite the career at Georgia and then with the Lions, but looking back, these past 50 years, what is a moment that you cherish most in this journey?
Well, that's Horace, who had the possibility with the Lions. We were there
Oh,
with
my
him.
bad. Yeah.
We didn't know
Horace,
it.
yeah.
We were there pushing him. We were behind him pushing him.
But either way, just the past 50 years, what's a moment for you that you still cherish and think back on quite a bit?
Well, the moments and the times that we spent together in the athletic dorm, we used to have this meeting called Rat Court. I forgot that the white players had something they called Rat Court too, that they treated a little different. But we used to have one to where we was checking, keep each other in line. I guess Larry didn't get to stay there too long. I think Larry got married our sophomore year, so he left the dorm. But Chuck, Pope, and Richard and myself stayed there the entire 4 years. And just to have that group together with support from each other. We didn't go over and kick each other on the shin too much, but that was just a camaraderie of doing what needed to be done every day to stay student athletes, to go to school, to go perform out on the football field. I didn't know Larry had injured his knee at one time. I forgot all about that. And he shared something about, how his academics kind of slipped for a few minutes. And I don't recall ever having a conversation to say, get up, let's get going. But all of us showed up to practice every day on time. And that was a stickler about my dad, taught me that real well, real early on. But just the joy of being a part of the five guys that was there. And when we used to have our little get-togethers and talk, I was listening to some music the other day by the Dramatics. And I guess Larry was gone then too. Raphael Williams brought this here, and it's about Let's Get It On, about Marvin Gaye. And that was every day. We had to go get it on. And music played an important part for me. Just a mountain of support, not only from the players that I played with, but Coach Dooley had a staff there that we could go sit and talk to. Hey, I've even talked to Mr. Cobb and Miss Page a few times about what was kind of going on with me. And they were working in the cafeteria there. Squab Jones was there. I bumped Squab on the shoulders a couple of times. He was a volunteer that made our Gatorade all the time and protected like it was gold. Mm-hmm. So that was multiple people and things that was put in place to aid, to assist us. And it wasn't that it was there specifically for African-American athletes. It was there for all athletes. If you needed a tutor, you go see Coach Copers. If you need to register for class, you go see Coach Copers. If you got in trouble in the athletic dorm, Coach Casey was going to find out about it, or he was always looking for you. There were multiple people that was there to see to it that we were successful, and it wasn't only for Black athletes. That was happening for all of us.
Let's go over to John Frierson with GeorgiaDogs.com.
Thank you, Claude. Hi, gentlemen. I actually spoke to you all last or 2 Februaries ago, which feels like 5 years at this point. Chuck and Larry, I'm wondering with you two, as you know, Horace, Clarence, and Richard were here and knew each other and known each other for a long time. What was it like for you two to not only come to a new place, but you know, you're 2 of 5 African Americans, but they've sort of already got a relationship. So did you two draw closer to each other because of that? Because, you know, in a way you were sort of outsiders, if for lack of a better term?
You know, this is kind of interesting. You know, I really didn't want to come to the University of Georgia. I really wanted to go to Tennessee, and the reason why was because they had Lester McLean and Jackie Walker, and they already had you know, African American players who were successful, and I was tired of being the first, so I wanted to do something different. But Larry called me one night, and I'm not quite sure who convinced him to do that, but he had called me and talked about what we could accomplish, the impact of what it would be if we, you know, would come to university, and so I actually gave that some thought. I knew I was going to go to a school somewhere in the SEC. Tennessee was my first choice. After talking to my dad, and him reminded me of the times when he had bought my sister a tape recorder, and he was recording me as one of the first, you know, African Americans to sign a football scholarship. University of Georgia, and he reminded me of that, and I recognized how important it was for him. And my mother, you know, she always talked about having high noon tea with Coach Dooley in her living room, which was a big deal. And so there were a lot of things that happened at the very last minute that caused me to know that this was the right move for me to make. And look, I was looking forward to leaving Rome, Georgia, to be frankly honest. And the fact that I could, you know, develop relationship with some other brothers, so to speak, was something that I really was looking forward to. And to be frankly honest, we clicked. We clicked from day one. That's and right. I think the closeness that we have here today is based on the relationships that we built 50 plus years ago.
Sort of goes to what I was talking about earlier. There were no apprehensions. There was no reluctance. We came together. And I guess the best way to put this is there was a genuine care one for another. Even to the point of how the coaching staff assigned us to a room and roommates. Because I certainly didn't know Horace before I got there. Didn't know Chuck. Well, I knew Chuck by phone call. But I didn't know Pope and didn't know Appleby. But as Chuck just alluded to, is when we came together, there was a camaraderie. I believe that was unsurpassed. There was a cohesion that began to develop. And of course, as all human beings, we're all different. Yes, there were some hills to climb, there were some valleys to go through. But through it all, we maintained a closeness because we had respect one for another. And as I said earlier, if we didn't treat Horace right, his mom was gonna get on all of us anyway. And same thing with Chuck's parents, same thing with my parents. And when they came, again, it was like one big family. If my folks brought brought me food to eat, you can rest assured they were going to have enough for Horace, for Pope, for Chuck, and for Richard as well.
You know, one of the things that you guys got to understand is that, you know, the people that I looked up to was my fathers and my uncles. They were my role models. They were my mentors. You know, I wasn't really looking up to all the other professional athletes. I was looking up to people who I knew for sure had my best interests at heart and did a phenomenal job taking care of me. And I think that's something that we all kind of had in common, was the support, you know, from our family. One person though I got to mention, and that's Eric Russell, who was my coach, my personal coach. He played an extremely important role in my growth and development, not only from an athletic standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint. He spent time talking to me. There were a couple of times I was contemplating doing something different, and he you know, convinced me that that wasn't the right thing to do, that I was in the right place. And so I give him a lot of credit to being able to establish the right kind of relationship with myself that made me feel more at home, made me feel a part of. And, you know, when I think about my connection to the university today, you know, I'm giving back in ways that I never would imagine, but I'm giving back in ways that I hope will create a trend that others will start to follow.
Chuck, as a quick follow-up, can you obviously have a fantastic Georgia wall behind you. Can you sort of take us through what all is behind you and sort of when did you decide to sort of create a wall celebrating your experiences at Georgia?
So to be frankly honest, my wife is responsible for it. What you see in the middle is my jacket, and the reason why it's shadow box is because I can't wear it anymore. It doesn't fit. but over here to the left-hand side, those are the Granite Aid letters that I had signed. You know, they mean a lot to me. This plaque down at the bottom is the meanest mother in the trench, and so during my senior year, I was at the top lineman. That's my letterman's plaque. This one right here is a certificate award for us participating in the freshman game against Georgia Tech. And then everything here on the side, it's kind of like in chronological order, just represents some of the postgraduate recognition that I've received. Coach Dooley lifted us up and recognized us after 30 years. This one award is the National Football Foundation Associates Postgraduate Achievement Award, one that I'm extremely proud of. The other picture up here with my son is he and I were at the national championship game, and Horace was responsible for making sure we were able to get tickets. And what you guys don't know is that I had just been diagnosed with lung cancer and wasn't sure whether or not I would see another national championship game. And so that picture just represents a lot. And then just a few other, postgraduate awards, and then the watches, my senior watches and my bowl watch. My wife had the idea of putting this together. All of this was really in the closet. She pulled out and she said, you need to lift it up. And so I tend to add to it. And down here, just some memorabilia that my mom was responsible for giving to me. So this is my personal office. We're getting ready to move. My office is going to be a little bit larger than this one, and you'll see the Georgia wall that will be there, because this represents a part of me, things that I'm extremely proud of. My son said, you don't have your diploma up there, and he said, "Is that important, Dad?" And I was like, "Yeah, it is." So when we move, I will add my diploma, because I don't want to send the wrong message to people, because I do really care about what I was able to achieve from an academic standpoint. But thanks for asking.
Sure, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
let's jump over to Zach Klein for a quick follow-up, and then we'll go to Vance Levy from Bulldog
sure.
Illustrated.
Yeah, just real quick. I'm sure, gentlemen, it wasn't like we see today where you had a bunch of hats on your table and you picked Georgia over something else when you decided you were going to school, right? So what was the conversation like with Coach Dooley? How did he let you know, and what was the emotions when he finally offered you an opportunity to go to the school? I guess unlike Chuck, but Larry and Horace were thinking of going to from the jump.
Well, I always thought I would probably end up at some HBCU school. Don't know how this all came about, but one day there was a meeting set up. Myself, Richard, Walter Allen, James Smith, and Matt Sewell. We met with Coach Dooley and Coach Mike Castranas. And Walter Allen, right after we sit down and kind of settle down in the seats, Walter Allen looked at Vince and said, "King and Apple be a sign if you take Pope." And there it is. Horace King has signed a granted aid to go to the University of Georgia.
For me,
Did I miss something?
Sounds like it went silent for a while.
Yeah. Okay. My boss had to make me aware of a couple of things. Go ahead.
for me, I had a number of choices. I was very fortunate in that area. A number of schools were looking to attract me, and there was a visit from Coach Dooley to Albany and to visit me and my folks. And he made a statement that really impacted me. He said to me, he said, "Larry, if you come to the University of Georgia, I will treat you just as if you were my own son." That statement, even though I didn't make any gestures at that point, but that statement resonated with me. And beyond just the people, the supporters in Albany, Georgia, who gave me their indication and their influence, that statement helped me to put more weight on the University of Georgia's scholarship offer. And of course, ultimately ended up going there. And to this day, I'm appreciative.
Yeah.
Whatever Coach Dooley comes to DC, the last time he came, the last time I know that he came to visit me at the church. He tries to stay in touch. And again, through those 4 years, he held true to his word that he treated me just as he would his own son.
Larry, I'm impressed because Coach Dooley and I had a very unique relationship. It's significantly better today than it was before. He probably felt that I was a radical one, probably out of the bunch, because
we all felt you were radical.
I was always asking for things that I knew he probably wouldn't give. But look, you know, my parents had a significant impact on my life, and I knew that it was time for me to do something that pleased them, and coming to the University of Georgia was safe for me, and I knew that it represented something that they felt very strongly about, to be frankly honest. And my dad looked at it from a religious perspective. He was like, "Look,
yeah,
all the other schools we went to, the coaches would take us out and they'd be drinking and sometimes get drunk, and we come down to the University of Georgia and the team chaplain takes us out." So, you know, that tells you right there, son, that you want to go to a school that, you know, has good morals and things of that nature. And so that was impactful. But, you know, Coach Dooley came to visit a couple of times. It was more for my mom than anything else, because, you know, she was queen of the hill, walking around telling everybody that we had tea with Coach Dooley and everything. But my parents were very influential in helping me to decide, you know, where to go. And I'm telling you guys, it was the best 4 years of my life. It was the right thing to do. I'm extremely proud to be a part of something that has grown to be something that exceeded my expectation. And when I see these guys run out on the field today, you know, I know what it's all about, and I know the role that we played in it. And I hope that, you know, other people will have an appreciation for what we went through. Sometimes it wasn't easy. And if we didn't have the camaraderie and the close relationship amongst ourselves, it probably would have been more of a challenge.
All right, Vance Levy.
Yep. First of all, Chuck and Horace, I'm looking at a good photo I took of y'all for Bulldog Illustrated. I encourage y'all to pick it up this week.
Okay.
It was fun to see at the Letterman's deal this past Saturday. First, just want to congratulate each of y'all on this awesome recognition, and thank you for being leaders. Pastor West, you said that y'all were a lot of things. In my opinion, you were leaders, and you were leaders for something that wasn't for yourself, which is so admirable. And with that being said, do you guys have advice to today's African-American female and male student athletes as to what they should be striving for to pass the baton for another 50 years? Thank you.
Horace?
Well, my take it is to be the best student athlete that they could be at the time that they get to spend there at the university. I was thinking about, I'm gonna digress a little bit here, that, you know, there are players, they got this new thing where you can change teams. I think the word loyalty is gonna probably disappear in college sports here real quick. Except there'll probably be a few coaches that know how to grab hold of some players and hold on to them and keep them there. But the best advice I could give them is to enjoy the experience and be the best student athlete they could be.
Chuck?
You know, I tend to look at it, you know, a little bit different. You know, my thing is to encourage the kids to make sure you walk away with something of substance. You know, why stay here for 4 years and not graduate? You look at the number of kids on that team who won't play pro football. If they don't do something different, then their lives is going to dramatically change the day that they stop playing. And so, you know, my advice to them is network as much as you can, get to know people who can help you out, and make sure you walk away with something of substance, that particularly being your degree. It could be an inroads to greater and better things.
Larry?
I would suggest that they strive towards finding their own uniqueness. Each one of the individuals were brought into this world that's unique unto himself. And if they can find that uniqueness and begin to walk down that pathway and realize that their being is there not just for themselves, but in order to help others, and they would quickly find real joy and understand what impactful contributions actually mean and could mean going forward. So I would again suggest that they would strive to discover what their own uniqueness is, because that uniqueness is directly applicable to them as an individual. Nobody else has it.
All right, we're going to have 4 or 5 more minutes here before we wrap up. So we're just going to open
Hey,
up.
Claude,
Yeah.
excuse me. There's one other thing that I want to lift up, if you don't mind. If you give
Sure.
me one quick second, is because I had to write it down. You know, my advice to them is to find a way to give back.
Yeah.
You know, that in my opinion, because yeah, the university benefits from the kids for sure, no doubt about that. But you know, my thing now is finding ways that I can give back to the university so that I can you know, really have an impact on the lives of some young kids who perhaps could benefit from the right guidance and direction. So giving back financially and also giving back as far as time is concerned.
All right, we got a couple more minutes. We'll open up. If anybody wants to jump in, go ahead.
Hey, Claude, I got a question.
Go.
This is for all three. Prior to 1971, there had been 3 players, including John King, black players, who were part of the football program, but very short-lived, if you will. They left very soon after arriving. I'm curious, for all 3, were, 50 years ago, did y'all know that attempts had been made, I guess, to fully integrate the program? And did that provide any motivation, or was there no idea on your part at the time?
Well, I knew there had been some black players to try out on that football team. And my thought is they all showed up there individually alone.
Yep.
I guess one of my most disappointing moments when I showed up at the University of Georgia campus was a hangman noose and a Dixie flag was hung out in front of them. That kind of singed me a little bit, but it wasn't anything brand new growing up there in Athens. So those other players making an attempt, I think, since they was independent without a support system around them, I think Vince probably had seen and observed that process happening. And that's why a group was brought in when we all showed up together. Thus, the 5. Just my thought.
Patrick, that's history to me, and history that I was not aware of. I did not know that there were attempts. Well, I'm sure there were attempts, but I did not know there were actual persons brought in and they were actually given a tryout. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, I really wasn't aware of it. And during that period of time, it really wouldn't have made a difference one way or the other.
Nope.
I felt that Coach Dooley made a courageous decision to do what was in the best interest of himself and in the athletic department in the school, and we were, lucky to be chosen to be the first ones to participate. I think they did a good job of looking at our backgrounds, looking at our academics to make sure we could get in school. And so, coming to Georgia probably could have been harder, but knowing that there were, some people who had tried before me, it wouldn't have made a difference one way or the other from my standpoint.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Claude, this is Jeff. I've got one more. I just want to take a moment, fellas. Can you describe what it was like for each of you the moment you were on the field as a scholarship player for the University of Georgia for the first time?
Just pure emotion and excitement for me, especially when I got on the varsity team. To walk down those, well, some of you might have been around when this happened. There used to be some stairs back where we entered to go get at least to finish dressing, because we partly dressed in the Coliseum and finished dressing over in a makeshift locker room over at Sanford Stadium. But to walk down those stairs and the excitement of the fans cheering you on even before the game started was just an uplifting experience, for me, and just pure emotional excitement.
Well, the first time I was on the field was during a scrimmage, and we were, as I recall, it was the first scrimmage we had with the varsity as freshmen, and I was amazed at how quick and fast things were, and it was a lot different than what I had experienced in high school, to be frankly honest, where I pretty much was king of the hill. But I knew we had arrived when we were there doing that first scrimmage, and I couldn't wait to come down those stairs when there were fans there waiting on us to play our first game. So really excited.
Yeah, entering into the stadium was phenomenal. Even as freshmen, sitting in the stands, entertaining recruits while the varsity was out playing on the field, that was emotionally grabbing as well. But the initial time that I stepped on the practice field, after having come through Albany, Georgia, Albany High School, and after playing 4 sports and lettering in each one of those sports for 3 years, being the only student athlete who had achieved 12 letters across his career in high school, getting to the University of Georgia, and back in Albany High, I was Mr. Everything. But getting to the University of Georgia, step onto the practice field and you quickly discover there are guys just as fast, just as strong, just as smart, just as intellectual, and just as crazy as well.
Yeah.
But that was impactful for me also, stepping onto the practice field.
Hey, Horace, walking down those stairs you were talking about, that would have been from up on East Campus Road, and I believe that would have been right in front of the railroad tracks, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
Absolutely.
That's where my daddy watched the game, was from the railroad tracks.
Yeah, a lot of people up there.
Yeah.
Horace, can you go into a little more about that? He watched the game from the railroad tracks.
Yeah, well, my daddy, well, they call it PTSD. He could not stand a lot of excitement and a lot of noise. And my mother made a lot of excitement and a lot of noise. So he didn't sit beside us. It was a while before I knew that he would take his ticket, and you had to have a ticket to go sit up on the railroad tracks. It wasn't that you could just, show up there and stay. So that was why he was up there.
Guys, we're going to wrap this up. This has been an
Well,
hour. Very.
One question. Claude,
I've
got one question if you don't
Jason.
mind.
Hey guys, this is Jason Hasty from our Special Collections Library on campus. Go ahead, Jason.
Sure. There were obviously other Black athletes in the SEC, just a few before you arrived here at Georgia. Did you have any connection with them during your time here at Georgia, or have you been able to connect with them at all afterwards in the years since?
Well, I developed a relationship with Lewis Carter, who played at Maryland, and Haskell Stanback, who played up at Tennessee.
Yeah.
Those are the two that really stand out that I remember. And Gary Burley too, while I was played at Pittsburgh, while I was in the national, all 3 of those guys played in the National Football League. So I got to meet them at some conventions and stuff along the way over time.
And Jason, for me, I made it my business after we played guys on the field, made it my business to go over and shake their hands after the game. Unfortunately, did not seek to develop a relationship per se, but I certainly had planned to meet them and to, of course, express my gratitude to them for the contributions that they were making at their universities as well.
Yeah, I don't recall developing any relationships with some of the other guys. I knew Paul Carruthers at Tennessee because he and I had played against each other in high school. And Condridge Holloway, I had a chance to spend some time with him on and off the field, chasing him all day long when we played Tennessee and Knoxville. But I was able to develop a relationship with him afterwards. But to be frankly honest, I knew that these guys had some of the same experiences that we had. I remember when we played the University of Florida, we were surprised that 2 or 3 of the African-American athletes belonged to the same fraternity that we belonged to. And I, found that out just by chance.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we going to wrap up now, and we do appreciate Chuck and Horace and Larry, you guys spending an hour, which has been very educational and entertaining as well, and appreciate you reminiscing about some of those days on campus. And we will be anticipating your arrival on campus for this weekend, and you're going to be recognized at the game. And hope we'll all have a great weekend to celebrate the 50th anniversary. So thanks everyone for dropping on, the players and the media. Everybody have a great day.
Yeah.
And
Claude,
you as
thanks
well,
for the
Claude. Thank
opportunity.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
All right.
Chuck, Horace, we'll see you down there.
Yeah.
All right, man. Take care.
Right
See
now.
you Thursday.
Yep,
Yeah, that's right. Thursday get started.
that's right.